We have my favorite deck today, guys, on Scatter Report. We're gonna do a profile on Pan. If you haven't tried her, it's time. Give her a go. She's only gonna get better with set 4. All right, so if you don't know what Pan does, on her unawakened side, when you play a card, choose that card, it gains 5,000 power. If that card goes above 20,000 or above, you draw a card. This is really good. So on your turn, when you play a card that goes above 20, you draw. And on your opponent's turn, if you play a card that goes above 20,000, you also draw. So you're drawing on your turn, your opponent's turn, you're getting advantage, you're making defense, it's all kinds of good. When you flip over, brings back 2 energy. You want to do this on your turn, not their turn, ideally. Most of the time, they're gonna pressure you. Don't let them do it. Don't awaken on their turn. You want the super offensive play as many times as possible. But same effect on both sides. She goes up to 15, and then she gets a draw 1 when she attacks. But still, you know, if you play a card on the unawakened side, get that draw, flip her over, play another one, get another draw, 2 draws, 2 guys played, so good. All right, so we'll go on to the first set. I'm gonna run through the defensive package first. So first and foremost, we run 2 Bodyguard Legics. This guy is awesome because if they play something on the field, you play him for free. He's also a blocker. And because he's 15K, you play him for free, you get another draw off of him and he goes up to 20K for the turn. So free play, free draw, so good. More defense. Potentially use him later with a double strike for game. People don't see it coming. 20,000, pretty awesome. All right, and then the other defensive packages here are Double Shot Vegeta, Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta. So this thing is great because when you play him on your opponent's turn, or when you combo with him, he goes into play. So he's at 15K. So when you put him into play after the battle, don't do it during. Some people do this and they make the mistake. It's actually when the battle is over, this guy goes into play, and then you give him +5, so he's harder to kill the rest of the turn, and you get to draw a card. So you're getting advantage, you're getting board presence, and you'll see why that's important later. You're getting that on their turn, you're getting draws, it's so good. Next, we run 4 Topos. Topo is the only negate in the deck. So good. So 2 red energy. If you, and some people forget this too, it's if your leader or their leader is at 15,000. Okay. So versus people like Mass Saiyan who pump themselves up to 15K based on their effect. You can play this card against them on turn 2 even when you're not awakened. It's really good. But he's at 20K, so you play him, he gets 5, you get a draw. So good. Negate, draw, guy on the board, such advantage. All right, then we run 4 Unbreakable Super Saiyan Son Gokus. This card just cycles through your deck, gives you plus 10K. It's another basically 4 free 10Ks, but they cost 1. I wasn't running him. Shout out to the Hernandez brothers at Origins. They convinced me to run this guy, and they've convinced me to change a few ratios in this deck, and it worked out really well. So it's just great defense. When you're going for game, these come in clutch. You're just pumping up everything really high. There's all kinds of double strikes in this deck. So if you can get, 65K double strike, it's so hard to deal with. So we're in 4 of those. Next is the obvious, 4 10K, handy Iggy Roos. So good. Draw 1, plus 10K. Not much to say about that, super standard. All right, then for a little bit of the spice in here, 2 Furthering Destruction Champas. A lot of the times this gets played as energy, but if you hold it in your hand for certain points in the game, you can feint a single strike, make them think a single strike's coming in, and hit for game on this. A lot of people don't, because this board, this leader, you'll see later, you get a lot of double strikes off, and if they think one's coming in single strike, and then you drop this on there, they're not gonna expect it, and they're gonna be hating themselves. So 2 of those, and now, part of the Self-Awakening package and early game pressure, late game killers, 4 Saiyan Kaabas, best one drop in the game right now. We'll see when that new GT Trunks comes out if we'll switch him to that, but he's still good. Early game pressure lets you get a whole bunch of cards in their hand early for the chain attack Zeno, which you'll see later. It's just so good. And then, for a finisher, if you get these guys in your hand late and you have 2 or 3 energy and like 4 life left, you can play 3 double strikers all at 15k for, you know, 3 energy. So good. The one downside to him is, and one of the reasons for running the Legic, is that on turn 1, if you play him, you don't get the draw. But if you can get a Legic out there for free, you get the draw, and then you play him all for 1 energy. So good. Next is Quick Rush Trunks. We play 4 of him. He's probably your, you know, best turn 2 play in the deck. You play him out, he gets pumped to 20, and you get a draw. He's critical. He has 2 red energy, but we're running mono red, so he's good in this deck. He's also an evolve target for Chain Attack Zeno, or Chain Attack Trunks. So sometimes when you know you want to evolve in the next turn, you just play him out there and pass, don't tap him. But early game, you know, hit with him, crit, 20k crit, so hard to get around, especially when you're drawing a card. So he's great. All right, so next guy we play at 4 is the evolve target on top of him. So Chain Attack Trunks, this is what makes the deck so good. It's amazing. You play him at 4. There's a couple things you can do with him. You can play him just for 4 cost. Pretty good, kind of expensive, but you get a lot of effects off him. But if you evolve him on here, it's 2 red, evolve, triggers, autos, play another card of, let's read it. So when you play this card, choose up to 1 battle card from your hand with a power 15,000 or less and play it. So that allows you to play any 15,000 card or less for free onto the board. This is going to be the target that gets most bloodlusted by yellow players. There's ways around that. You can evolve for 2, they'll bloodlust it. Then you can awaken, bring back the 2 energy, evolve again. They won't be able to bloodlust it unless they're Mecha Frieza, but there's nothing you can do about that anyway. So you can double evolve, sometimes even triple evolve if you got enough energy, just to get the chain attacks off and get your deck going. Next we run, let's see, 3 of the Zeno the Playing God. So he is your kind of reset the game state. The whole idea of the deck is to, well, depending on what you draw and depending on the leader, but in general, it's to hit them hard and fast, draw a bunch of cards. Once you're ahead and have more, you know, when you have 7, 8 life, they have, you know, 4 or 5, reset the game state with this. If you're playing apes, reset the game state any chance you get. Don't let them get that stuff out there. And what he does, if you don't know, is when you play this card, negate all the battle card skills, then choose all the cards in both players' hands as well as other battle cards and return them to their decks. Shuffle both decks afterwards, then both players draw 5 cards. Cards stacked under the other cards are placed in the drop area. Something to note about that is that if you evolve, this guy goes into the drop. He does not go back into your deck. Make sure to remember that and don't get called on it. It can be a bit of a bummer if you double evolve and you lose 2 cards, but sometimes it's worth it. So anyone that's building big boards, veggie decks, apes decks, really anything that you don't want to deal with, just reset the game with this guy. So good. Another target for the chain attack is Fearless Pan. She is probably the best card in the deck, I think. So you can play her for 3 if you want. She gives every red card on your board double strike plus 5k. She also draws a card and gets 5k. She has barrier, she has blocker, really good against the new U7 decks that can't get around that very well. So you can play her to get out of the victory strikes potentially. Pretty good. But those double strikes, when you're playing Topos on their turn, Vegeta's on their turn, potentially these for free, and then you have a chain attack out there. When you put her out, I've had games where I've had, you know, 8 triple strikers on board. It's insane. Or 8 double strikers, I mean. All with plus 5k. So like a Topo, you pump him up to 25. You can clear the whole board because they just can't deal with it, and there's so many more double strikers coming. So good. Next is a new addition to the deck, is 3 of the Surprise Attack Majin Buus. So the reason you play this, one, he's just a 15k beater. You can chain attack him out if you need to, but he searches his deck for a 25,000 or lower Majin Buu, which we play 2 of the Majin Buu full of energies, Handsome Buu. So this guy is a 3 cost evolve, double strike, barrier, but the reason we play him in this deck is specifically for the Universe 7 matchup or any deck that doesn't want to awaken you. Sometimes your Kaabas get put in your life, you can't get down to 4. So important versus U7 decks, and I actually lost a few games at Origins because I wasn't playing this card. So activate main, choose 1 card from your life and add it to your hand. This card gains plus 5,000 power. the thing that's great about this card is you can do it as many times in a turn as you want. You could even kill yourself if you wanted to. I don't know why you do that, but you could. But if they're leaving you at 8, which all Universe 7 Frieza decks will want to do, you just kill yourself down to 4 immediately. Then you're ready to go, your super combos are online, you get to untap energy in that turn, get 2 of the energy back for the evolve. So good. And he's just, you know, by that, potentially in that turn, if you take 4 life, you know, he's up to 45k double strike with barrier. They can't Kale him away, they can't Shigesh Kid Goku him away. So good. All right, so the other MVP of the deck, we run 3 Foreseen Hits. This guy is amazing. So if you don't know what he does, it's when you play this card from your hand, your opponents reveal their hand, choose up to 2 battle cards with 35,000 or less power from their hand, and send them to the warp. At the end of your opponent's next turn, return all cards sent to the warp with the skill to their hand. So what this does is it allows you to see your opponent's hand, which is just amazing. You can see how many negates they have, what their combo power is, all kinds of stuff. Then you choose 2 of those cards that are 35,000 or lower and send them to the warp till the end of their next turn. So if you're playing Cell, steal their Cell Chain pieces. If you're playing someone that needs their 10k, steal those. If you're playing U7, steal their evolve targets, anything. It's so good. And then the last cards are the Overwhelm cards. We've got 2 Time Patrol Trunks. Those are standard. This thing's great. So when you play him, pretty standard, you know, look at the top 2 cards in your deck. Pick one, put the other one on the bottom or top of your deck. What's amazing about him in Pan is that you do this effect first. So when you put him into play, both autos trigger, but you get to resolve them in the order you wish. So you do his first, look at the top 2, grab whichever one you want out of the 2, and then if you want the other one, put it back on top. If you don't, put it on the bottom, draw another card when you trigger the Pan auto. So good. So it's a 0 cost, 3 Overwhelm, draw 2 with viewing 3 cards. So good. And then we run 1 of Scientist Fu. So he's similar to the Time Patrol, but it's really in there to battle Cell decks. So when Cell gets your hand down, you're able to drop this guy because your warps or your drop's full. You get he gets plus 5,000, so he's at 30. He's a double strike, and you get to draw 3 cards. That's amazing recovery. It's a big hitter. So good. I love running this deck. You need to, when you play it, though, play it more defensive than you think you should. It looks very aggro, but when it comes down to it, you want to be building a board with these on their turn, these on their turn. You want to be defending early. You want your life to be more than theirs. So when you drop this Zeno, they drop a ton of cards in their hand, you don't, and then you have life to take, you have resources to use. It's just amazing. One of the other cards I think is really good, and I have a sideboard here that's not full. I ran something at Origins, is okay. Pretty good with dealing with veggies. We got you know, yellow just for energy. We got Flying Nimbus to, you know, negate, drop a yellow. They can only attack 1 more time with battle cards. Crusher Ball, this is for victory strikes, any other kind of crap you don't want to deal with. And then we got my new favorite card from set 3 in this deck, and also some Sun Gotens. This card. So if you're playing against a Veggies player, do not show them that you have this card. I would sub it in for, you could take out potentially the Legix or 1 of the Vegeta and 1 Kaaba or something like that. But this card, what it does is choose all red Saiyans in your battle area. They gain barrier until the end of your opponent's next turn. So when you play this card and you've got, you know, Chain Attack, Vegeta, this guy out there, Pan, she already has barrier, but not a big deal, and Kaaba, you're able to either, basically, if they have a yellow energy, they're gonna, if a Veggie player doesn't have energy, they're going to want to Shigesh Kid Goku an attack, or Shigesh Kale an attack, so that they're gonna blow up your battle cards. What this does is says, no, 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 you can't blow up any of my battle cards. And when they do this, they're gonna have to either wipe their whole board to combo out of things, or they're screwed. Like, they don't get to draw off their, it basically takes their super combo factor out of the game. It's so good. People don't see it coming, no one knows about this card yet, or not that I can tell, no one's playing it. If I were to sub this in, I'd probably put back in the promo Gohans. I think that's good with this. It's amazing. Beyond that, you know, this is my favorite. I just won locals with this yesterday, went 4-0. I think this deck's amazing. I did pretty well with a similar deck to this at Origins. There was one in the top 16 that was very similar to this. Some stuff different. I don't think he's running the Buu package and some different ratios and things, but this is what I found to be pretty good. Play early, play slow, play stuff on their turn, draw, play stuff on your turn, draw, and then just go out all out with a big board and double strikers and just put pressure. It's so hard to deal with. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. We'll be back at you with more tips, tricks, deck profiles, gameplay videos. We're going to all the regionals on the West Coast later this year. Should be awesome. Hope to see you guys there. It was great meeting a couple of you guys who've watched our videos. Cool. Till next time. Thanks, guys.